beforehand.
Like, hello. Okay, I'm okay. Now I can see myself.
Cool.
I'm there. See the comments.
And then once Rated gets in, we'll be good. And I'm pretty sure.
Give me a sec.
Yeah, take your time. No worries. And Discord, yep, everything's coming through just fine. Sweet. How you guys doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. You guys hit a little milestone of 10 million people saw your video.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Somebody said that this morning and I was like, what? Like when I was logging off, it was like 50K. Like what happened?
Yeah. We had a couple of paid ads go through, but it went way more viral than I thought we were even expecting. I was like kind of shocked because I think logged off at 50 and then I reloaded and I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it's pretty wild. It's also taking off on Twitter, which is totally organic too. So I'm pretty shocked and really excited to get the word out there for SUPERVIVE.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. You guys are doing awesome work. Chiprel says, is
same
that
back to you? So
you guys like I'm in shock of how like I knew the game would do well because it just in general like being able to play it for the last year like obviously I think gamers have a good pulse on what they want to enjoy for a good amount of time and like second game in I was like I remember messaging I'm not sure who it was but I was just sitting in game and I was like I went live with my microphone I was like you guys this is my second game and like I can already tell that this is some
fragging. When I first saw you join, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this guy has the nastiest Brall." I was like, "Yeah."
You hear that, Chip? You hear that, Chip?
I got it to work. I think I'm
Who's
here.
on number 2? I don't know anymore. You guys should fight.
Chip's number 1. Chip's number 1 for sure. Still, he's the gamer god. Okay.
Chip is terrifying.
But what is going on? What? I'm sorry. I'm just catching up on chat real quick.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. Chip is going crazy, giving out keys randomly because he's a wild man.
Chip.
Give out as many keys as you want, Chip. All day, every day. Okay. Rated, I got you as well. And
the nicest guy. Chip's cool. The nicest guy. That's why we're here.
Rated empowered me. And then he goes. He gives out another key right there. Why, man? Going crazy.
Drunk with power. Drunk with power. What's happening?
True that. All right. So I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time, obviously, because I know it's been quite a busy couple days. So Rated had a chance to look at a few of the questions that I had presented for you guys. Safelocked, did you have a chance as well?
I saw them. I saw them.
Cool. We'll just go through the list and make sure that you guys are all good there. So we'll start it up for you guys. I know one of the hot button issues is always going to be monetization when it comes to games like this. People worry about, hey, is there going to be pay to win? Hey, how do we support? Hey, how do we, how does this game look going forward? For monetization, what are you guys looking at?
I loved when you were like, is it pay to win or just pay to drip? Because I thought that was fucking hilarious. Sorry.
No, you're good. You can cuss on this stream all day. I don't mind at all. I don't care. You're good.
Okay. So that I was like, yes. And the reason I was like, yes, when I read that was because we have talked about this a lot where we're like, players just want to be able to frag and style on other players. Like that is the core motivation I feel like we care about and I feel like players care about. And just like there's and so to me that is like almost like the clearest articulation of the only kind of like, you know, the main monetization thing that we would want to do and not pay to win. And like I think there's like a few ways we've explored that across different price points that we would want to make sure are like easier for different players. But like, obviously the standard of like, hey, we want skins with different power fantasies and different tiers of customization. Like, and like what's cool about like our current approach right now is that we're using PBR, physically based rendering. It's like very standard rendering approach. But what we like about it is that it lets us define different materials, consistent lighting, things like that we're trying around, like really like juicing iridescence or like metal, like those kinds of things, just like we can make that look and feel really good and punch it up in the context of like the lobby and like in-game and everything like that. So that's been really fun to just like play around even more than I have in the past in terms of like really being able to make those skins come to life.
Mhm.
But then there's also the other half of it, which is like expression, like expressiveness. Like we've talked about like emotes, and like I think you have definitely, you know, partaked in like the emote game, but like
Yes.
I think the way that we're trying to do it is like not just like, oh, it's like, you know, just like a reference or just like something that just you're trying to communicate. It's like, no, we're having a conversation. Like this moment, we can like accentuate it with like a very like in the moment meaning that we can also like add really quickly and just kind of have it be relevant as like a social cue more so for emotes and having a wide variety. So there's a bunch more that we've talked about, like maybe spikes in the future, but like trying to find the player moments that players actually want to have and what conversations they want to have, and then actually making that as cool and stylish as possible.
Okay. Ready to go ahead?
We're discovering those month on month, right? Like we're seeing
Totally,
players
yeah.
we're seeing players interact different ways with different things in the game, and then it sparks up additional ideas. But yeah, I think Jess said, I think like for me, emotes are so interesting. Spikes as well, like you said, Jess. We talked about those recently. Like
Thinking about it,
I don't
yeah.
know, it would be so cool to have different kind of spikes. But I think endless possibilities. I come from 7 years of mobile, so coming here and talking about cosmetics as a way to monetize the game is so refreshing. When you say when the question read pay to win, DJ, I was like, yeah, like my mobile background is
Sean's like PTSD.
So this is like this monetization model is so refreshing to me, and I know we're basically doing industry standards and hopefully a more generous way or appealing to players. So super happy that you guys are going to be able to test that out.
Yes. So speaking of, like, will you guys have skins? Like, we've got stuff that are earnable through refer a friend, but going forward, like, is there going to be ways to earn skins that are still, like, if you want to save up for a while and earn like a really, really cool skin that's a little more expensive, like on the, I don't know what your guys' price points are, but like something that's earnable in games that you could say, hey, I earned this through just play and I still got this. Okay.
I don't know yet.
No worries. But
TBD. But if there is something, are you imagining something right now? Like, is there some, like a specific?
Just in general, if you guys have like the like real dollar currency to whatever currency you decide is going to be like diamonds or whatever it's going to be in the game, sure. Some way for like, hey, you got your dailies done of like, you won a game, you've got all this stuff done, we're going to give you like a dollar value currency of whatever that is, so that like later when this $40 skin comes out, it's just not exclusive to, you know, the people that are just paying the money. It's just like something that people can still earn.
Right.
I want like, I always worry about that with like the free to play complete players, because like obviously you guys helped work on, like, say if you were there for in the beginning of Riot, correct?
Right. Yeah.
So,
end of season 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Like back then, if you wanted to earn something, it was like you earned what was the runes, and that was like it. Really, like you couldn't earn skins through that kind of stuff. So I always have that question, want to make sure like to clear it with you guys, and if it's an idea you guys have been thinking about.
We've talked about it. I mean, I think the main thing even on League was like being able to hit a certain rank and be able to get that recognition with the skin. And I think there's like pros and cons to it. Obviously, like the pro is like, hey, I got like this, like some of like the, you know, like the, not the highest tier, but like a pretty meaningful skin that like recognizes my achievements. I think there's like the other side of it is like, it might be for a champion I don't play. And so like, that would always be like the dilemma, is just like, oh man, like whatever, like I never made this guy, like what do I do? And so I think that's been a conversation for us, is like, hey, how can we reward and recognize players who have gotten to that level of achievement in a way that's actually relevant for them?
Okay.
I think that's a space that we're pretty interested in.
Okay, that's a different direction that I didn't even think about, and I really like that. That's really cool, because like obviously like we had the Riven skins and stuff like that, and people were like, dude, I don't play top lane, like I don't
right.
yeah,
So then like, what do you do? Right. Yeah.
So okay, cool. So the game will be free to play, correct? Coming out when it does come out. Okay, confirmed. Right. So everybody's aware of that. Free to play. So
asking for hats.
The emotes, by the way, are some of the coolest emotes, because you guys have incorporated a lot of the players into the emotes already. Where people, like, lines that you've heard people say in like the trailer are in emotes and stuff that you can just like spam.
Or even
and it's
in
awesome.
playtest.
Yeah, it's in play. It's awesome. Is the game pay to win? Absolutely not. No pay to win. So, there was one question that somebody had in chat yesterday concerning skins, that I wanted to ask you guys about. And so it was like a fundamental change of like, when you guys are looking at skins, are you also looking at the skills changing as well from skin to skin basis?
From a cosmetic standpoint, yes.
Okay.
What we want to do is, so it should align with the power fantasy of that skin, like that theme. But what we want to also make sure is that obviously, like, it's a competitive game at its heart, at its core. And like when you're in a fight, you also don't want to be like third partied or fourth partied. And then, which we already run into some of that already right now, where there's like a ton of VFX on the screen. There's a ton of abilities going off. And so we are very sensitive to that. And there's also different things we want to do to make sure that, like, hey, whenever possible, if we can, you know, mute VFX that maybe are less relevant to you, and making sure that like the moments that matter to you actually stick out on the screen. I think we'll want to balance that, but yeah.
Cool.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jess, but I think the intricacies of us creating a battle royale, also with much more people, many more possibilities of who has skins, who doesn't have has skin, has almost we have to almost be careful of like the competitive integrity of the game as well.
Totally. Always has been,
right? So so it's definitely something that we need to be mindful of in terms of like, hey, if this skin has like different animations for different spells, do you need to track that? Like that seems difficult. That seems to give an advantage to a player. So
just to build on that, I think a very common case that I'm sure we've all run into with competitive games is when even like this base silhouette of a character looks different because they have a skin, and then it's like, who is that? Everyone's experienced that, right? Like who is that? And then you're like, oh no, like actually what they casted is like totally not what I expected, and that's like a rage moment. Like I think that's the kind of thing that we'll want to be careful of. But I think there's like plenty of room between like, I have no idea what that character is, and like this is a cool skin that we can like amp up and make a cool experience for players. So,
and that's one of the things, is that between like the casual player base and the professional level player base, obviously the pro level players playing the game 10 to 16 hours a day are going to know the difference in when a skin comes out. They'll be like, okay, I've seen these abilities, I know what this is, I know what to instantly recognize. But for the casual player base, which is, I mean, I assume a lot of what you guys want to focus on, that's the majority of where your players are coming from. It's going to be more like, hey, we want to make sure visual fidelity is clean and easily accessible, so that you're not overwhelmed when something new comes out and something becomes like way too flashy than what you're normally used to. Right?
It's both. I think it's both, because at the end of the day, that like once you also know as like an experienced player, it still matters like they're going to know and care, like you're going to know and care about like the exact combat ranges, like the actual cast timings, like being able to make sure those are really crisp and clear, like on like for the ground decals or the cast indicators, like making sure all of that is clear still, I think will even matter more the more competitive you get. And so I don't think we think about it as like, oh, it's going to be only for like casual players, or like that problem statement only applies to casual players. They matter probably to different audiences for different reasons, I would say. And so because of that, we're like, hey, we're always going to care about competitive integrity, because we know this is always going to be important for different reasons. Whether it's you're learning and onboarding or you're competing at the highest level, if that makes sense.
Perfect. Excellent. So Rated, we'll start with you with this one. How confident are you guys in new players trying SUPERVIVE for the first time? And I'll ask you who your easiest pick is for first timers.
I think I mean, jumping into SUPERVIVE, I think everyone's going to, first and foremost, experience something they've never experienced, which is going to be really fun. I think when you look at the game, it resembles to a lot of other games that you've played in the past, and once you actually get your hands on it, it feels much different than what it looks like. And I think that does take a little bit of time to get used to. I think this game is complex. We know that, our community knows that, but we think that is what will possibly make this game your next 10,000 hour game. We've always prioritized depth before onboarding, just because we were playtesting on the down low. No one knew about the game. We could do that with our playtesters, and I think the next big step for us, and again, I'm sure Jess can speak on this a little bit more, but we will be focusing on that new player experience and making sure everyone is not too overwhelmed with all of the systems in the game. Again, this game is complex, but when you really think about it, it isn't that much. I think the depth is very complex, but all of the systems will feel very familiar to people who have played competitive games in the past. Again, I'll let Jess speak on what we're potentially trying to do or what we've been testing. But we're aware that this game is hard to get into. I do think that with the influx of players that are going to be coming in this week, we're going to see a whole new different cohort of players enjoying the game in a different way. You guys have been great playtesting this game for months on end, but when new players come in and they stumble into your bracket range of MMR, it becomes a different experience for them.
True.
It totally helps. Yeah.
So I think them coming in and joining in with a fresh batch of players is going to do wonders, and it's going to be very interesting for us to see that and see how we adapt afterwards and make this game super enjoyable for first time players.
Cool. Jess, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I can add to it. So I think plus 1,000 on the we care about depth, we care about combat depth, we care about a lot of that part of the journey for a player. But I think even how we think about the game and what we like about and what we probably want to push more on is your actions being very evident by the nature of it being very physics based. So the fact that you can push things, you can displace things, you can jump, you can glide. The fact that all of it is there's a push and pull that you can very obviously see with different items, or how your any of your actions actually apply to different objects in the world. I think we want to maintain that kind of understanding, or that very clear self-evidence in the game itself. And then I think for the new player experience, what we'll probably want to do is, and yeah, we're totally iterating on this right now. There's a lot of depth and skills that we want that's worth learning at maybe the 8 to 10 hour mark, that we're don't worry about that right now. You know, knowing how bungee shot works, don't worry about that. That's a when people started being oh yeah, I could totally use bungee shot to traverse and hover wings, bounce off of it, and then that's that's the best traversal method right now. I'm guys, that's amazing. Also, we don't need to ask new players to do that. Yeah. So in terms of what we think is going to be a really, and I'm sure you've run into this plenty of times when you've been talking to new players, it's learning basic combat, learning basic traversal. How do you actually employ your kit? How do you get around the world? How do you understand what's going around you and making sure you can get through the session and build your power progression and be able to take on certain fights? I think that's the thing that we really want new players to have a great experience on. And that's probably what we're going to do, is just kind of prune a lot of the post 8 hour, skill checks that you don't need to worry about right now. And so that you can kind of get a good foundation around on you and be more prepared to be able to experience the rest of the depth of the game.
Okay.
It's like learn not to get spiked, and then let's concentrate on
right.
the other.
Totally. And it might be in the form of like a storm shift, like a new player storm shift or stuff like that. You know, like where we just go like, hey, like, don't even worry about it. Maybe it's glider engines. Who knows? You know, like that kind of stuff. I think it'll be really helpful.
I think glider engines is one of the best new player friendly, like
right?
low MMR things, right? Because like you have so much to look for anyway in the game, and there's a lot going on in general, that I think taking out just like one like core aspect of it and giving it,
don't think about that resource.
Right. Yeah. It helps a lot. And that's something that I struggle with, like explaining to people as well, is like, while I want to explain it at like the level that I understand it, sometimes people come in here and they've asked questions before, or people have asked me questions while we're doing the playtest, and I just explain it like they've been playing for 100 hours, like I have, you know, and it's like, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, you probably don't realize what I'm hold on, let me go back.
Center of Brall stun on his arm B. His air slam definitely stuns, and you're like, what?
Yeah, like I did that yesterday. I was like, yeah, so there's like a circle, but there's also a small circle. Like there's stuff to like visually look for. But it's also like, if you're playing the game for the first time, there's so much more to enjoy, and just go out there and like a sandbox and just enjoy the game yourself, you know?
I think that's why when we did the simplified tooltips too, where it's just like literally like one sentence that gets you like the gist of like, here's what the ability generally does.
Yeah.
Like it's so refreshing just to be able to be like, yep, one sentence, that's what this does.
Yep.
Great. You want to learn more? Press Alt, you're good.
Nice. Perfect. So quick question. Chat was asking, have you guys either of you played BattleRite or V Rising at all?
Yeah. Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking. Okay. So
gamers.
Yeah. I explained that yesterday, that like everybody that I've spoken with at Theorycraft is obviously passionate, but also they're gamers. Like
I like literally remember even when we were like, I was at Riot when when BattleRite first came out, and we actually like were in like the office and just like all like crowding around. Like there was like a ton of BattleRite playing like especially on launch day, and it actually got like I feel like we jammed on that for quite a while. It was like BattleRite was one, and I think Auto Chess was the other, and that was both of those cut a lot of play.
They're banger games. Let's be real. And at the core of it, like we're gamers, and so you can't shut off for, you know, be like, oh, I don't want to play that game because it's a quote unquote competitor. It's like, it's a good game. Let's all learn from each other and make better games, right?
Yeah, I like truly. That's why I think we've also kind of not wanted to even put ourselves in that box of like, hey, we're like this genre or whatever. Like I know there's references all over the board of like, hey, it's a MOBA, or like it's a shooter, or like whatever. But like, I think truly like it's been so freeing to be able to be like, hey, we are not constrained. Let's learn the best lessons from everything that we've tried, or what other game developers or our friends have tried, and what they've learned from like what the pros and cons are, like how cursed certain design problems are. It's been really awesome just to feel like, yes, we don't have to do that just because we're a shooter or whatever, right? And I think that's been really helpful. Okay,
cool. Sean, did you want to touch on that at all as well?
No, I was thinking of all the conversations we've had on the marketing side about what genre is this game. And
at the same time, it's like, okay, then what do we call this? What do we even describe ourselves to be? Yeah,
I think like I think we're all aware that people are going to call this a MOBA BR, but in our heads, it's like, it's so much more than that. Just touched on it. It's like, there's so many opportunities. You touch the game for your first time. You don't even know what this is like. Is this a shooter? I'm playing with WASD. I'm aiming. Like, I have physics-based movement. I can zoom all over the map. Like, yeah, it's actually really fun. And I think, I guess on the design side of things, it's probably extremely freeing being in a real sandbox environment, being able to do whatever you want. So yeah, it's fun. And I think players are I mean, the tagline that we had during our project announce was I think Apex meets League meets Smash. And that came from player verbatim. So it'll be interesting to see next week, after all these players have touched the game, like what are you saying about this game? What
like, we literally saw that. We're like, yes, like
it is this.
You get it. Yeah.
I played Pro Smash back in the day. I've got videos on another YouTube channel from long, long ago when I was not DJ Montague, when I was a young lad named Ronan. Also, I went by Griever back then as well.
Serious?
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were called Ronan. That's incredible.
That was back like fighting game days, like old
Ronan
Guilty
was
Gear.
The dev name for Brall. Yeah.
Right. Yes. So that's why obviously I have to play Brall forever.
That's incredible.
So question for you guys. So in the pipeline of creating characters, how long would you say it takes for right now, with the studio being the size that it is, how long does it take for you guys to develop a character?
So hard to say.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, it's really hard to say. And the reason why is because everyone's working on everything at the same time. And what I mean by that is just like we have like two VFX artists, we have like one tech art lead, like it's and so when usually like a company is making a game of this kind of scale or this with these outcomes, like I think like it's very, very it's like the meta to have like a character team, a balance team, like the skins team, like it's very like that is at least, that's how Riot was organized, and I think Blizzard was similar in that respect. And so I think for us it's like, okay, how do we actually juggle items while we're working on new characters, while we're working on the map, like at the same time? We don't have a map designer. We have designers who work on all of these things, And so if I really like did end to end, it's like it's about the same amount of time as like when I experienced it at Riot, which was like 8 months to like, and I think League got to up a year and some change. But that's literally while they're working on like literally everything else. So it's probably actually half of that, or maybe even less of like dedicated time. And what I think we benefit more from is actually the soak. So like what we'll do is we'll get the kit into a really good, like into a place where we can just like have it live and like live in player, like with players and play tests and get like a bunch of feedback. And then we'll actually do like another pass. And actually that's actually new for a bunch of us. I don't think a lot of character teams kind of get that, that kind of iteration time to be able to get player feedback before the character launches. Usually it's like very much like heads down, very quiet. You don't get to see them, and then it's kind of like the surprise, which has its own merits. But I think that's helped a lot with our kind of iteration speed. I think
it lets you guys like it adds a flexibility to the characters themselves. Totally. Where like Stalker's completely different from the first time I played Stalker, right? When you guys first had him released.
And I think a lot of it's because of your guys' feedback. Like honestly, like as we've been like talking through, it's like what's working, what's not working, what's like fun. Like at some point when we had that shadow, like hiding in the shadows thing, like it was like kind of cool. Like it was like very interesting and novel, but like I think the like desire of like I want to have this like playmaking assassin type of like play style come through more. It's like, okay, cool, done. Let's just like, bear hug then and figure that out.
Yeah.
I think that's been really clarifying for us.
Yeah. And Sean, did you want to talk about character development as well?
I was about to say, thank God we switched the initial Stalker. I was like, felt all the time.
Sean's like, I'm good now.
No, it's been so refreshing being seeing characters being developed and seeing how they are developed. It's like they go through different phases. They go through being tested in arena, and then us talking about those characters, going back to the drawing board, and then us testing in BR, and then bringing it to players at some point. And it's been really, really fun seeing the reaction. It's like, some things are, it's like, it's hard for us, I think, to predict how, and just you say it well with soak. It's like, we can do so much soak, like just so much, but at some point it's like, we need to bring it in front of players, and it's been really fun to do that in the different cycles that we've done it. So no, it's just refreshing to see the team work this way, and to see the team touch so many things at the same point. And it's fun because everyone has their hands in everything, and it sort of all intertwines together and makes something really crazy. So yeah, it's been great seeing that develop.
I think Chiprel single-handedly like saved Brall.
Like, 100%.
Feedback. Like every single time it's just like, this might be a little broken. Chiprel's like, no, guys, trust me, here are the receipts.
let me cook.
Receipts. Yeah, let me cook.
I was talking to JMO a little bit about some of the interactions that Brawl has with different like wall stuns and stuff and different knockbacks in terms with his ult and stuff like that. And being able to just like have that chat with him and be like, hey, is this your intention? And then him opening it up and saying, hey, what do you think it should be like? What's your opinion on this? Like that to me as a player, like I've never in my entire life heard that from a dev. Like I'm just a gamer. Like I just love video games. You know, I've been playing video games since I was a wee little child. But hearing a dev say that to me was like, okay, wait, these guys actually give a shit. Yeah, like and not only like it's malleable, and there can be something about Brawl that is a minor interaction that isn't intended, that they actually are going to recognize that somebody else brings to the table and say, hey, that might not be intended. That might be the way things are going now, but that's definitely going to change. Like we're going to fix that, you know, something like that. That having that door be open. Yeah. Like it's unreal to see how you guys are handling this space with like your first true entry as a team with SUPERVIVE being what it is already. It's unreal. Like I can't.
That's what we've always wanted, is just to be able to just like hang, like even like the post playtest chat, just be able to like open up the editor, just be like, guys, let's talk about it. It's just like so freeing. Yeah.
Excellent. We appreciate you guys a lot, and I'm sure once like chat is able to get in and they're able to actually like sit down and play the game, they can see what we are talking about when it comes to this stuff. Like obviously I've had a ton of time with the game, but like seeing the passion through the game is really apparent here. So who's the best in the studio currently? Who do you guys think the best is in the studio?
The best player?
Yep. The best player in the studio.
I have a take. Sean, do you have a take? You seem like you already have one.
I have one. You want to do 1, 2, 3? You want to do 1, 2, 3? And...
Okay. So, but I have a multi-pronged answer to this.
Okay.
So originally I was gonna say Tristan, because
Tristan, okay, yeah.
Were you also gonna say Tristan?
I was gonna say Jeff, but
Jeff is pretty good too.
But I was gonna say I think Tristan. Okay. I think Tristan and Jeff are
I think so. Here's my multi-pronged answer.
Okay,
I think actually different players at a high level are good in different ways. So what we found is that like there was a time where like the like super like the players that were really good at micro and like just moment to moment combat. So like the Kyle's, like Talich is like very up there. Like
insane.
JMO is very up there. Like Drew, like Tristan, obviously. Like there's just like very clear players who are just like their micro is insane, and Bartleby's in that camp too. But then there's also people who are like they know like the strategy of it all, and like that's how they win, and then they end up being like climbing the ranks in a like a crazy way. Like Apples, like it's insane. We were actually having a conversation with JMO because he was like talking through like a piece of the map, and he's like, "Are people gonna really remember like this part of the island next to Fortress?" And so I was like, Apples was like, yeah, and then he drew the entire part of that map from memory, and I was just like, of course you know this exact island next to catacombs where you can like spike people at the perfect moment, like, and that's how he wins, and like that's actually been really interesting to see him climb in that way. And then the other person that came to mind for me was Bede, which he's like always constantly like thinking about the macro of things and understands very similarly. He knows the map. He also knows where all the objectives are. He knows where all the camp spawns are. And so he plays around from that perspective, and he always ends up being in top 4, winning most of the time, because he's able to play Void at like a very high level using positional advantages, and that's like pretty insane in its own right.
I was gonna say, especially playing Void, right? Like yeah, it's been amazing to see him play. I think it'll be interesting to see players play as well and see how they become good in certain aspects of the game. Like I think knowledge is a big part of a battle royale. Like understanding the potential circumstances of what could happen. You see it a lot with like players dashing into certain situations, not having their dash up, dying. I think it goes with like powers as well. Like someone who understands powers, who is able to see like the different opportunities that they have with both powers, like like Money Tree with
laser
Bishop, like,
or
or like this laser. I think there's like so many different opportunities where you can be smart, and there's there's different characters where being smart has an even higher impact, right? And I think there's different characters, different hunters, like Shiv, for example, where being mechanically good is just going to overtake anything else. So it'll be really interesting. But I think those are, I think that list is extremely fair.
I've got a list. I've got a list, and
I didn't realize you had one.
So
wait, yes, I want to know.
So my arch nemesis is always going to be you, Safe, obviously, because I swear to God, if you hit me with another hammer, I'm gonna lose it.
Oath, my baby. I gotta represent the Oath crew.
But of the devs that I run into a lot that just like ruin my day, it's Bartleby for sure. Bartleby, I have like
Bartleby a whole might be everyone's villain.
I have like a Discord. I have a log with him where I just yell Bartleby, and then he sends me like an emote back, like I'll be like, hey, every single time. And then obviously Rated. I think his favorite thing to do is find me doing something like beating somebody's ass over here, and he's just like, hey man, do you want to come this way over the abyss? We're just gonna have a hug, and then he just slams me into the abyss.
We called it the Rated. Once, literally, when we put the abyss dunk in, Sean would just constantly just like throw himself over the abyss, max hook, dunk people in, and you did it like all the time, probably like at least a couple times every session, and we're like, the Rated too strong. We have to nerf this.
And you guys did. You nerfed the shit out of it.
I complain.
It's insane.
It's still really strong. He's Rated. You still have it. You're still there. Also, obviously, qualifier. Like the first devs that I played with were Rated in qualifier, and the first time I was like extremely like blown away was watching qualifier play the game.
Yeah, he's a no dug at things. He's good at both. He's good at both micro and macro. Yeah, like he'll always know exactly which powers he should be picking up. He's always very, very aware of his abyss play. He was like one of the first people when like we made the changes to Aluna, where he was like, oh yeah, Aluna with like EX dash into the abyss, best spiker, and like that's where that first clip in our last announced trailer came from, was him just like realizing that first moment and just clipping it, just being like, yes, I'm gonna totally abuse this now.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think that's so cool that you guys have that. Like there's dev moments in this game in trailers now.
Everywhere.
That's an awesome experience. Like when you saw like Apex and you see like the behind the scenes stuff and you see the trailers come out, it wasn't like devs versus players. It was just like internal play tests and stuff like that. And then you see all these montages of players come out.
Common.
But right now, like to see like the spirit of the game growing with you guys, not only developing the game, but also being involved in the competitive side of things and like playing with all these players, like it's a really cool experience to see it all. And
I mean, the community is just better also than like literally all of us. Like you're like, who's the best player on the team? And I'm like, what does it matter? You guys are so much better.
What does it matter? Venomous exists, dude. Come on now. Like
I'm like looking for receipts from Venomous.
Right?
I'm looking for receipts for you. Yeah.
No, Venomous is the king right now.
We stopped adding devs into show matches at some point because we're like, oh.
They went from being the villains to like protagonists.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh, I hope you win now. Yeah.
We want you guys to win. Don't worry.
Gotta show that you still got it.
Right. Got to show these young kids you still got it every time. So I was gonna ask you guys as well. I know we're probably running a little bit late on time. Do you guys still have some time to talk a little bit more?
I have a few minutes.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got a few different game modes in the game. Real quick, Safelock, what's your favorite game mode right now?
So I think it is because we've designed a lot of the game and like the hybridness of the genres to work best in BR. So that's what I'm feeling right now. And I feel like I'm enjoying that a lot and the most right now. So I think that's my answer. We've definitely tried a bunch of different formats. So who knows? But like as of today, like I just think the emergent gameplay, the physicality, the like traversal elements, like all of that kind of emergent player storyness comes I think through the most in BR. So that's why I'm enjoying it a lot right now.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll say the same. We tested so many things that didn't end up being part of like of these builds.
And who knows? Maybe they'll come back. I don't know.
Maybe they'll come back. We had tested solos. We tested a bunch of things. I think this game and the way it was made works very well with squads. It's a very team-based game, and I think that's something new that people will realize very quickly. Traditionally, when you see our game, you think MOBA, but when you're getting to play, when you're going to get to play with it, you need to rely on your team, and they need to rely on you, which is extremely refreshing, and it makes for a whole different experience. And I think that's why I like squads the most. I do enjoy duos. I think like when I don't have a full team, I do enjoy hopping into duos and playing with friends or with creators or the community. But squads is definitely my number one mode. I think
specifically
20v20,
squads too.
Yeah, 20v20 was great.
That was really fun. That was hilarious.
Maybe they'll come back. Yeah. And I think there's different people who like different modes too, like on the team even. Like there's like arena first enjoyers because like they really like the sweaty like head-to-head nature of it all, and like there are people who really like duos and prefer duos because they love the tension and like there's more on you like that you have to be responsible for. Like if you don't hold up your part of the bargain, like your partner is not going to make it, very far. So I think there are very different like primaries for the team, but I think the most common answer is BR. But yeah, I think because we enjoy a lot of these different formats and like how they play differently, like you get very different experiences when you play in these different formats. I think we'll want to try different ones, and I think we have a lot of appetite to do that too.
Cool. And I'll just do one last question if you guys have time.
Yeah.
So we were talking about pipelines with character development before. I have a question about what do seasons look like for you guys? Because obviously, like this type of genre or this type of game lends itself to seasons very well, right? So, in a timeline wise, like, have you guys discussed seasons at all?
Yeah, we have. How much should I say? For me, so yes, we will have seasons.
Okay.
And I actually think having some clarity around when the ranked season, so like what is a season, I think is a question I often ask the team too.
Okay.
Because depending on the game, like usually there's like a term for, or maybe sometimes there isn't, for actually when ranked is on and turns off. Like that whole session, that period of time, sometimes is called something, maybe that's called a season. Sometimes seasons are also content drops, or like, hey, the game is different in XYZ ways. And so then now there's like new content for you to experience, new skills to learn, new skill checks, etc. So that is also an aspect of it that is also interesting. I think we'll want to do both. And so, but I think we'll want to have clarity between the two and make that really compelling. I think the other part of it that I would say about seasons is as the game evolves, like having that be more than you expect, or not exactly what you expect. I think a lot of games currently are very transparent about what goes into a season, and they'll be like, hey, like on this date, on like at this cadence, you will have this thing. And I think like we will have a rhythm for sure, but I do think we like the idea of there being some intrigue or building up to those moments that I think we'll want to maybe tease things in different ways, or have like the map evolve in certain ways, or like have different powers that kind of tie into like some of the gameplay elements that you might see in some of these areas or these teasers, or maybe there's a countdown. Like, I don't know. Like, I just think that there's like a lot of room for intrigue and for players to actually experience anticipation leading towards those things, and actually maybe find those things on their own and be the ones that actually share that with the world, as opposed to us kind of putting it out there all kind of as like, here's the schedule. And like, who knows, like maybe that's the better way to go ultimately. But I do think there's a lot of, I think when people are like roster-based game and like a lot of that stuff, it's like there'll be a character, there'll be skins, there'll be like whatever, and like that's like fine. But like I think there's also a more maybe magical way to do that, and so we're talking about that right now.
Cool. Sean, what are your feelings on season?
No, that was a complete answer. That was great.
Sean's like, I refuse.
Sean,
TBD.
you come from like the world of seasons, which like the mobile game market. They always have that idea of like, hey, this season is this, and this, and that's it. And it's very much that. So, the question originally was for you, and I really appreciate you answering, Jess. Like that's an amazing answer, and that helps a lot to really give an insight onto what you guys are looking at and discussing. And so okay, then Sean, I'm gonna ask you a different question real quick before you go. What players are nightmare fuel for you? Which one of us? Which ones are the worst?
There's a lot. Let me
make a list.
I think Flappy is very annoying to play against. Venomous. I think Himic, Adamark, Moore, you and Chip, or any Brawl player. Brawl.
any Brawl player at all.
Specifically, any Brawl player with Most Wanted.
Yes.
That
yes.
I'm like, gotta find this person.
Yeah, and then I think someone like on the support side. I mean, I said more, but I think someone like Jay. Like Jay is very difficult to keep up with.
Jay is insane.
Yeah, Jay is crazy over a bit.
Some of Jay's clips are insane.
But yeah, I think like all of like the top 10 squads right now in the game are very and at some point at high MMR you keep running into the same people. It's going to change really quickly, but during our closed play test, you'd run into the same people, and then you were looking at the lobby, and you're like, oh, maybe I have a chance, and then you looked at like 6 out of those 10 or 12 teams were like, and you're like, okay, no, this is not happening. But yeah, there's so many good players at the moment in the game, and they all play the game completely differently. Like more introduced, the chonker plays with flow. Like,
bro, that was crazy.
It's crazy how people come into the game and yeah, it's like it's ridiculous. So I think there's a lot of players that make me rage a little bit when I play, but it's so fun to get to play the game side by side.
You gotta get them back when you dunk them. So
exactly.
Yeah,
we're
of
gonna
course.
come back grounding on over Abyss.
Yeah, perfect. That'll be good. That'll be good for my health. Just yelling, rated not again every 2 minutes. Yeah, that'll be
Insta
good.
DM.
Yeah. Friends, real quick. Rated. I was talking to you earlier about my buddy Cannon. He actually just rated us. One of my homies, friends, nice. Cannon, just gave us a huge rate of like 400 people. So, thank you so much, Cannon. I appreciate you. Love you, brother. Thank you. He is a Korean MMO player, and he was wondering and asking questions, and so I wanted to get him in the Discord and make sure we can get him some info on the game. He says, "Yo, I want to play." So we'll make sure we get him in there. That brings up, like, real quick, do you guys have any info about when there's like a timeline of like Asia servers at all? TBD. Okay, no worries.
Pass the turn.
Yeah. It's hard.
I'm glad you answered that first, because I was gonna say some stuff and I'm like, okay, never mind. Shut up.
So I don't know how much you guys
we are planning them right now.
Yeah.
So
at least
there is a timeline that we are currently building, and we would like to communicate it soon.
Yeah.
But I think just know that we are literally planning that right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I had some people who were asking about like Southeast Asia servers and Australia, because I mean Australia just gets the shit under the stick a lot of the time.
We're seeing the comments.
A lot of people from Australia just are like, dude, I can only play to Japan, or I can only play to like Southeast Asia because there's nothing over there. That's a really tough market. So I'm glad you guys are having any sort of.
You're aware.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much for like this impromptu like interview. Dude, like this was amazing. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. Anytime you guys want to come by and chat, leak anything, you're more than welcome to do it right here. Anytime you guys want. Are you guys gonna be playing tomorrow as well?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, because Rated never has time anymore. He's always so busy with like real life stuff.
I mean, but Rated is also trying to. I mean, you're balancing your time between getting people in and also playing. So it makes more sense. But
Dude,
I don't need to worry about that as much.
Screw all them.
There's a few people from the team that are going to be playing tomorrow for sure. There's even people that are like, "Hey, I'm taking. Hey, I'm playing."
Will be if they're not on deck to like for tech support and things like that. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
thank you so much for this, DJ. This is great.
Yeah,
absolutely. Of course, guys. Like, it's my pleasure to have you guys on any sort of platform like this and help you guys like talk to more people and get you know, talking to chat and stuff. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. We're gonna give away some more keys. I'm gonna give away. I have 6 keys to give away right now. I think 6 keys to give away. So, friends, stick around. By the way, hang out. And I will also put this on YouTube. We'll have this on YouTube tomorrow. So,
perfect.
Thank you guys so much for.
Thank you so much, guys. See you guys in the queues tomorrow.
See you guys tomorrow.